All right, everyone. Trump has people who claim to be progressive anyway up in arms right now. He says, I'm going to look at affirmative action in these U.S. colleges, see if they're discriminating against white applicants. They are, quite clearly. They're discriminating against East Asian applicants and Jewish applicants, too, something that the progressives do not want to talk about. It'd be a little too touchy an issue for them. Here's the thing, though. There's a simple solution to this that doesn't... The people who claim to be on the left, and they're not really on the left, they're just neoliberals. They say affirmative action, not only should we keep it going, maybe we should expand it into other endeavors, too. Like, just abuse everybody. Someone like Trump says, well, maybe we should look at this, maybe end the program. And there were legal challenges to affirmative action some time ago. Unfortunately, affirmative action was upheld. What legal recourse for doing that escapes me. It doesn't make any sense. It is quite explicitly a legal form of discrimination by the academic body. But there's a way to take care of this solution that really should appease anybody. It takes care of the problem of discrimination in any direction. It takes care of any problem with differential enrollment. And makes it basically impossible for any educational institution to abuse anybody. And that's blind enrollment. Now hear me out, here's the idea. Switch to a system in which, when you apply for a college, they get your academic credentials, they'll see the school you went to, they'll see what courses you took in your grades, your GPA, your ACT or SAT score, and so forth. That'll all be bundled together. They'll see a write-up of any extracurricular activities and any awards, you know, things like that, your membership in some group like Key Club or 4-H, something along those lines. But they won't get your name, they won't get your race, they won't get your age, or anything else personally identifiable. They will simply be looking at the raw statistics about who you were as a student. In this manner, and the reason you don't even want to give them a name is because any individual could, of course, Google that and find out, oh, no, this person's white, that person's black, so forth. You can then eliminate affirmative action altogether because the person will be accepted or rejected based solely on their academic credentials. By the way, in connection with this, don't give them any financial information up front. Don't give them household income, what the parents do for a job, the FAFSA sort of stuff for need-based aid, scholarships that this person has or has not. The college only gets that if they accept the applicant. This will also help people's personal data to be more contained because then the school has to reasonably accept them and say, okay, you're in, now we need the rest of the info to, you know, give you all this other stuff. They would have to accept them beforehand. Right now we've got a situation where you're expected to give an enormous amount of personally identifiable information to essentially for-profit groups you may not actually end up doing business with. You have to give all that information to the government, and all these schools get full access to it. They know basically everything about you. Blind enrollment's the way to go. By the way, this takes care of another problem that few people even bother to talk about. Colleges, it seems, have begun looking at people's social media posts to see whether they're a good fit for the school. Shouldn't be taken into consideration. Neither should, by the way, if someone's got like a misdemeanor criminal record, why should the school get that? The only thing that would go along in connection with the academics would be, are they a violent felon or something like that? Yeah, Jimmy was in prison. You know, he turns 19 before he applies. Yeah, he was in prison for murder. Then we let him out early or something because he was young or whatever. He tried to rape his classmate or something like repeated sexual assault or something. Okay, well, yeah, the college probably should have that to look at. Anything else? No, absolutely not. They shouldn't even have access to your social media. They should say yay or nay to the person because an educational institution, a college, a university, their job is to educate. Not to thought police you, not to determine whether your skin color or your gender is a good fit for the school based on some retarded government criteria. Not necessary. Has nothing to do with education. A person can have whatever opinions they want, and it has nothing to do with their educational potential, unless it's criminal in behavior. By stripping personal information from the application process, they don't get to know even who you are until they've looked at you in a vacuum away from that looking. They can't discriminate. A school can't discriminate against a black applicant if they don't know the person's black. They can't discriminate against a white applicant unless they know the applicant is white. And what this creates is a merit-based educational system where people who are the best fit for the college or university they are trying to get into will be the ones selected. They will be accepted at those schools. Now, thereafter, let's say you apply to 10 schools, you get accepted at 8 of them. Okay, well then they get the additional information now. You've already been accepted. Now you submit the financial end, you see what deal they can get. This absolves the government from having to enforce any sort of, non-discrimination, this is suppressing black students, suppressing a white student, whatever it happens to be. It absolves them of the legalese involved. The only thing they would have to look at is making sure that the financial material was handled properly. Essentially, a school might try to screw black or white or Asian or whatever applicants on the financial end if you don't look out for that. But it would prevent them from attempting to prevent them from enrolling in the first place. A school would then accept all sorts of slews of applicants. Or waitlist them, maybe. Have something like that. Assuming, we filled our slots, we are waitlisting this person. Okay. They have to have some sort of workaround for actual enrollment levels. But by switching to blind enrollment, you would no longer have the problem of affirmative action. Wouldn't be necessary to talk about, specifically because they wouldn't know what race you are, they wouldn't know your gender, they don't know if you're gay or straight, they don't know if you're a couple years past 20 or if you haven't even turned 18 yet. They don't know about your social media posts. They don't know really anything but fuck about you. They know that you're smart or you're dumb or something like that. That's basically all they need to know. They need to know whether you're going to be able to attain academically. They're an academic institution. They don't need to stack their books with people who are of one race or another. They don't need to stack they don't need to work. It's not necessary for colleges to socially engineer and say, we need more females in this course or something. No, let people who have an interest in a field apply. Let those who are qualified enough for your standards be those that you select and allow into your college. Then you can find out what race they are. Then you can find out their gender. Or what their sexual proclivities are, what fucking religion they happen to follow. You don't need to know that for your application process unless you're taking that into account. So why do you need to know? Seems like you're basing an awful lot not on their academic standing, not on, hey, they were a straight A student, 4.0 GPA, all sorts of extracurriculars, wonderful person, but we can't let them in because they're white. This person infinitely qualified, wins every award, constantly on the honors list, but they're black, and we don't want so many black people in this school. Like, we want white-only schoolers. You don't need, you're an academic institution, not social engineering outlet, or at least that's the way that it should be. And it shouldn't even take into consideration their financial standing. The government already throws all sorts of grants and aid at students anyway, which causes colleges to bump up the costs. Why should that be an impediment if they're qualified? If some poor kid who's obviously going to need a lot of grants and have to pay back a lot of loans, yeah, but they're a straight A student, they're probably going to do pretty well. They have to be at least somewhat responsible to have gotten good grades. By the way, this takes care of another issue that also people don't talk about. Cronyism within universities. Yeah, my dad was in this frat, so they helped get me into this college. They helped get me into school. I know the dean of students or something like that. No, that shouldn't be taken into consideration either. These are public edifices taking public money. They shouldn't be involved in such things. If it's a private school, it's a little bit different. But for public education, no, you don't need to know what race the person is. You shouldn't be thinking about it at all. I would even go so far as to say maybe they don't even need the school codes until the person has been accepted or rejected. They might say, the racial composition of these schools is different, or the gender cut. Like, this is a girls-only school, so obviously you know that the applicant's a girl. Maybe they shouldn't supply any of these things. Yeah, that'd be a good idea. Blind enrollment. No more affirmative action. You don't need it because they can't discriminate. They're not going to discriminate against a black applicant, a white applicant, or any other applicant, regardless of their race, creed, gender. It doesn't matter. It shouldn't matter. You should be trying to find qualified individuals. You should be, because you are an educational institution, your job is to teach people things. You want people that are smart, that are interested in certain things, like they're applying, you know, this person's applying to arts and sciences. That person wants to go into engineering or something like that. Okay, that's fine. And for the purposes of expediency, the colleges should definitely get like the stated intended major and minor, or double major, or whatever the person's certificate that they're going for. Okay, that's fine. But they don't need to know the person's gender. They don't need to know their race. Why the hell would they care? The college. They're trying to get people on board that they think will do well and then give them kickbacks when they succeed in life. Well, then why would you care what race they are? It has nothing to do with it. You know, unless you're... Affirmative action, the big problem with that is that it screws people. If you're Asian or white, you're screwed on the front end. And if you're not, if you're, you know, if you're Hispanic, Native American, black, whatever, you're screwed on the latter end, because basically what those institutions are telling you is you can't compete on an even keel. You can work as hard as you want, but you're going to be disenfranchised by life because you're just not going to cut it. So we benevolent colleges and the benevolent government have to help you. That sounds insulting. I could have, in theory, marked down that I was like Native American on my applications. It kind of sort of would have been right, because I was, oh yeah, well, I have like maybe one great-great-grandparent who's Native American. They can't do anything to check for it. That would have been funny. Yeah, maybe could have gotten into Harvard, but what would be the point? It'd be an insult. It's ridiculous. They don't need to know that information. All they need to know is that you put your nose to the grindstone enough to get good grades, maybe some extracurriculars, maybe you're the football captain or something. Okay, that's wonderful. They should look at that information. They don't need to know what your name is. They don't need to know whether you have a Y chromosome or not. Who cares? Let in the qualified applicants. That's the only criteria for entry into a college. If you want a properly functioning economy, should be merit. The person rises to the academic and or extracurricular standards that you have in place. That's all it should be. And by the way, you'd have to strip out extracurriculars like, oh yeah, the boys all black choir or something like that. Yeah, that would probably tell you something about the applicant. Strip that out too, and you're golden. Wouldn't that be wonderful? Maybe for extracurriculars, just have general categories like sports, in specific. Instead of, not girls baseball, but sports. You know, was captain of sports team or something. You know, sort of generalize it to hide additional identifiable information from the college. Wouldn't this be a wonderful way to do business? It'd be cheaper too. It wouldn't take much effort to administer it. You're just switching out the current paperwork with, you know, stuff that's less identifiable. That's all you need. It should only be a couple of pages you have to even submit until you're doing all the financial bullcrap. It's not necessary for colleges to know so much about people. People shouldn't be screwed over for their race. They shouldn't be screwed over for their gender, and they shouldn't be screwed over for making posts on social media either. The problem with that, I think, is going to get quite large over time and probably lead to blind enrollment anyway. It's just a matter of the will of the population to suggest that it should be done. That's about all. Peace out.